Hi, Niels Wiekold from the Danish Center for Arts and Interculture. Thank you for your presentations. Kamara, when touching upon this gender issue, which I think is really, really important, to me it was kind of a good solid punch in the stomach. What would if we kind of just turn it around, you look out at this crowd here, and we are kind of the producers of a conference pretending to be important to the arts sector that wants to address some of the key issues in arts audiences and digitalization. And you should give us a recommendation for a conference that we would like to do in Iceland, in Harpa, in Reykjavik. What specific democratic element is actually lacking here? You touched upon gender. Is it just gender, or could it even be, for instance, age? Could there be other aspects to it?
Well, first of all, I am also one of these key people who arranged this conference. So if there's something wrong, I'm to blame as well. I do think that we have, as actually I talked a bit about it in the Continuity Studio, the Bloggers Lounge, earlier today, because working as a producer at this conference and with these teams, you want to find the best people, and you want all the great people to come, and you want all the heads, and you want the people in key position and the people in power. But you also want to be able to we want a diverse crowd. We want people of all ages. And there you kind of have to choose. Because, sorry, but the key people in the key positions, in the top positions in the Nordic countries aren't as diverse as we would like to think we are, maybe. So we tried, regarding age, bringing me in as a young producer, bringing the bloggers on board. But I think that, of course, it will at some point change organically, even though I'm getting a bit impatient. But I think that the key is that for young people, or for people of color, or trans people, or to have more diversity in the key power positions, that means that you guys have to quit your jobs and then give it to us. And nobody wants to do that, because we all like our jobs and we like it very much, and that's why we're here, because we want to do it better. But I think it's happening. It really is happening. But we can still do better. Did that answer your question at all? I don't know. Okay.
It's on. You can just...
Okay. My name is Haldur Runolfsson. I'm director of the National Gallery in Iceland. I was urged by one person here in the audience to tell you about a recent opening of a department at the National Gallery, which is dedicated to Steina and Woody Vasulka, pioneers of digital art and digital communication. They have been living in the United States since 1965. He is originally from Czechoslovakia, from Brno in Moravia. She is from Iceland. And they managed to establish in 1971 the Kitchen, probably the best known and still active theater of multimedia in New York. I want to tell you, if you're not on your way already tomorrow in your planes to the rest of the world, please stop by and have a little look at our new Vasulka chamber, which will be in direct contact with Brno, and as well as other places, for instance, Poitiers in France, Irkham, Montreal or Montreal. And I hope you will enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for all of your presentations. And the very last late subject, which is not the least important subject, regarding interactive dimensions through the internet. I must say, talking about technology, especially when it comes to communication and communicating with your audience, often when I attend these discussions, it's very clear who's talking. It's very clear that the person who is talking has been born in a time without these forms of communication, because there's a distinction, a very clear distinction between technologies and not technologies. And I just want to mention and raise the subject that when you talk to younger people, they don't necessarily see this distinction. They don't see a world that is without technology, where you're together, where you're chronicle or something, and a world with technology. They don't see Facebook and social media as this foreign land you go into. They see it as an expansion of themselves. They see it as a way of connecting with their friends, of connecting with the world. And they are not scared of it as a foreign thing. They see it as an expansion of their own selves, of their own social life and their own identity. And I think this is very important to remember when we talk about communicating art, both as a commercial thing, but also as a part of art projects, that the distinction we talk about, it often becomes this artificial thing, technology, that stands as an opposite to the real live art, to being there. But actually, the theater, for instance, the magical of the now, everything could go wrong. It's a real person. Yes, and your computer can crack. And you said it also in your presentation, working with technology and people, it can go wrong. Both of them. But for some reason, we fear technology going wrong much more than persons making mistakes. So I think we have to, for a younger generation, accept that it's a much more homogenic world where everything is connected, technology and non-technology.
Yeah, I would like to respond to that. I really think that was a really good point that my arm flew up straight away, that we are not so afraid of humans making mistakes as computer crashes. That's because humans are creative. We do have an intelligence and we can rise after we stumble. A computer is inherently logical, and if the logic fails, it won't rise again. You basically have to cut the power and reboot it. So that's one point that's very clear. But the other one I think is interesting is that when you think about this distinction, on the other hand, there's also a kind of a myth about the digital native. Bjarke and I were talking about it, and that myth is becoming increasingly pervasive, that there is this new digital native, which to some degree, it's true. If you are born with digital media and where everything is online, I think actually the internet is more interesting than the individual computers. When you're born with that, you have a different. It is a natural thing. It's not another thing than the real world. However, what is it used for? Because I think that a lot of the myth around the digital native is that the digital native is only interested in the stuff online. Sort of is engulfed in the internet and forgets the real world and just orders pizzas and sits there, right? But if you look at what the internet is enabling, it's very real things. And they were there before. But the things just become more specific because the audiences and the people on the internet can congregate around much narrower subjects because it's inherently global. So what are people doing online? Especially the maker movement is interesting. It's incredibly cool to knit now. And you share knitting recipes online. And it's cool with young people. So there's a lot of these things that are going on through the digital media that sort of shows that this is a false dichotomy, that people are actually sharing very classical things like food recipes. It's like booming on the internet, right? If you look at YouTube, one of the things that people share most videos about is Lego, which is physical, something you put together. It's a toy. So it's not the net about the net. It's not only online. And when you realize that, the shoulders might go down when you do live art, right? Because then it's actually connected, and people and users are connecting it in their real lives. We've had a lot, just one last remark, we've had a lot of, we've gotten a lot back in Recoil by being digitally generous. We share complete HD videos of our full performances online whenever possible to negotiate with right holders. So that's why we usually employ a composer and not play back pre-composed music. And we try to share, or we do share, all the source code for our performances, which means that there's a big community online of digital artists who look at each other's toolbox and copy-paste ruthlessly from each other, and even correct each other's errors. So the internet is enabling very real, sort of situated situations globally to complement each other. I think that's an important realization, and then that you, by being generous, you actually get a lot back. We're invited to festivals we never heard about because people simply just in a video exploded virally, or I don't know, somebody sent a link. So it's very enabling to be generous.
Yeah. I want to respond to that as well in terms of, I mean, there's no doubt that you know, there's a lot of technologically savvy people out there, you know, that are met with interfaces early in their lives. But we need to know that these young people, even if some people will call them digital natives, they're not programmers. They're not the people that actually have the key to this world. They are engulfed into interfaces that most of them are personal and want your personal information. So the fact that people are online and young people are playing on their iPads in apps does not make them necessarily conscious of what they're doing. So what we should be thinking about is how is regulation responding to this, because there is still something called regulation. We should be talking about deeds like, you know, ethical conduct, and we should be talking about education.
Can I just add a little bit to this? Because there was a fascinating speech or presentation here yesterday by Peter from CCP, talking about ethics and responsibility. He told us that CCP is extremely aware of the danger that people who are natives on the internet playing computer games, that they close themselves up in their rooms and they don't get out, they just order pizzas and they don't communicate actually. But Peter was telling us, and I have heard some at various times and incidents, presentations from the CCP, and they're extremely conscious about this, that the people who play EVE online, they are only, their only existence depends on the existence of the other people playing. And that was one of the key sentences in his presentation yesterday. And into this ideology is built the FanFest. So people playing the game is not allowed to become the person that they're playing in the game, because they have to get to the FanFests. And then they can't hide behind their characters in the games. So they also have to communicate in the 3D world. And I think this company that has been doing so well with EVE Online, they are ethical, they make their own rules, they know what it is, what the dangers are, and they try to avoid them or somehow get around them. And I think that was important in what he said yesterday.
Yes. Yeah.
Is this on? Yeah.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Bart Roger from Demos, Brussels. I had a very interesting 2 days in this beautiful venue, this beautiful country, so thank you very much. I have one small thought that I would like to put on to the panel. It's about digital communication and how institutions use it. But how can we use digital technologies, media platforms, to listen to what is going on in society and pick it up and use it to, I don't know, to get aware of a world that is out there? Can we use technologies, digital media, to listen to the world and to use what we pick up to change our practices, to change our art, that kind of thing?
Can I start with that one? My answer to this is definitely yes. and I think what has been described already by Ule and some others in the presentations, that this is exactly what we are doing. This conference is online, so there's a lot of people communicating, listening to what has been happening here. But what you said, it turned on a little radio in my mind, because I'm an old radio person. I used to work for the Icelandic radio, and I love old-fashioned radios. And my radio, apparatus in my kitchen window is one of the things that I really love about my home. And I heard this story from the Riksteatern in Sweden, who have been using the internet to do radio plays, and not in Swedish, because they have a minority group in Sweden who speaks Turkish. And they suddenly thought, what can we do for the people who are not native speakers of Swedish? And they turned their attention first to those who speak Turkish. And of course they knew that a lot of people in the world speak Turkish. So they start making radio plays with people who speak Turkish, and they transmit it through the webpage of Riksteatern. And a lot of people in Turkey are listening to Riksteatern in Sweden and Turkish radio plays.
It's always about arts institutions trying to get a message across or a product across. But, for example, you talk about a Turkish community. Maybe they also are making theater and putting it online. And do we use that kind of tools? Are we sensitive to these kinds of developments and pick these things up? That was my question.
I'm not a producer myself, but I would certainly say the possibility is there. It's really, really simple to get something set up that will allow people to contribute. So the challenge is not technical, it remains social. It remains a question of establishing that network. Because, of course, anybody can order a web design company to do some kind of online suggestion box or dialogue forum or something. But getting people engaged in that is the same challenge, or a remaining challenge. So how do you get ambassadors in those communities to actually participate? And I think there's a big also chasm between what you want to achieve and the tools. And it's really important not to be blinded by technology. There's like, it's crazy. I was like the geek in high school with a laptop, and people thought I was, like chunky big one. I wrote my notes on it, and I was kind of the geek back then. But I'm getting sort of a bit scared now that everybody's a geek like that, and people really believe that it's a solution, right? There's so many problems that we want to tackle. Let's put up a touch screen in the ghetto or something. I think there's and this was a real project, right? That people asked me to participate in, and I said, no, you shouldn't put up a touch screen. You should try and work to think about what is it you call a ghetto and things like that. There are many underlying social and economical issues that needs to be addressed before we start buying stuff from big high-tech companies and putting all that money into developments of things that are inherently vulnerable, require high maintenance and experts to keep running sustainably. So I would just like to say that, because there's really, really a lot of problems that are not tackled by buying a thing. Right?
Yes, I'm going to tie into your thing there a bit, because I think it's a matter of what you're saying there is it's a matter of, do institutions want to listen, and it's also a matter of using communication in a lot of different aspects, and communication is always a two-way thing. But I also think that in digital communication, in whatever form that may be, it is actual physical people that we want to come to our places. So we also need to think that digital is not the sort of the solution to all your problems, because it's not. Because it's like you say, anyone can order a survey to sort of know things, but it's also I think it's a matter of meeting actual people, to actually interact with people and sit down with them and actually ask them, so how can we be relevant, or how can we make a change, or not asking people what they want, but seeing what kind of function you can have. So I think that we need to sort of we need to be aware of the fact that digital is one channel, but it's not the sort of all-consuming, amazing thing that we can rely too much on.
A short comment from Bjarki and then Kamara.
Thanks for the question. Well, I would emphasize the importance of context here. Because, there is a tendency, as Ole was talking about, in techno-determinism in a way that, because all of the others are doing it, we need to do it as well. And it's a tendency, for instance, for cultural institutions, we have to be on Facebook. Why? Or we have to be on Pinterest or something else, so there is always a reason. And that needs to be analyzed. What is the context? Because no matter what, the technology, Facebook or something else, is always going to condition you. It's always going to it's always going to condition specific forms for communication. And you need to decode the context in order to get, an answer to your question here. Is that a good thing for my institution or not? Because users will be staged in a specific way, and there will be a content coming out of that is content tailored by the platform. So that's just very important. The reason why I took examples of social media is that, they're all over the place, and it's a very, very powerful factor in our lives. But there is definitely a lot of things happening as well in other circles that are non-commercial, tailoring users in a different manner. Equally as important.
Kamara?
Yeah, we don't have so much time, so I'm going to play quick and blunt. Blunt is the thing. Concerning what you said, Bart, I think the notion is also very nice, of course, when we talk about co-creation and the institutions listening to people and bringing other people in, and with the Turks, and with everybody can come to, maybe they're doing theater as well. And you know what, that's great. But I've seen a lot of those projects as well, even though if they're doing digital or if they're being done just in person and face-to-face and bridge building and all that. And I'm quite baffled sometimes when I look at these projects, and I'm not really sure why we keep doing them, some of them, because we have a tendency as big institutions to end up like a Columbus theater, where we kind of come and we discover this native art. Somebody's doing something very nice. Oh, that's very nice. We're taking it, and then we take it into our institution and we pretend that we invented it. It was co-created, of course, but now it's ours. And then there's no bridge building in it, there's no real communication, there's no real co-creation. So I think that the premise for all this, bringing all these people into the institution, we also need to talk about, like, what's the premise, what's the intention, why are we doing it? Is it about democratization, is it about the art, or is it about us feeling better for involving the poor brown people, basically? Yeah, blunt, short.
Yes. And that was... the final comment.
Oh, God. Sorry, no. So, you're doing great job. Great work. Yeah.
Yes, but thank you very much to all of you for your contribution.
Okay.
Time's up.
Okay. It was?
Sorry, I had a point.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm Rich Hadley from Audiences Europe Network, and it's been terrific 2 days. Arts and audiences. We've had a discussion just now, and, we've been talking a lot about digital stuff, but there hasn't been too much kind of consideration of digital stuff in relation to audiences. This is what I'm missing. This is my kind of hunger inside of me. So I apologize if I'm striking a slightly discordant note. To me, the internet has handed power to people. When we go on holiday and stay in a hotel, we look at TripAdvisor, we go to a restaurant, we look to see what people are saying about that restaurant or hotel. And actually, you know what? People are also talking about theatre and art on the internet, ordinary people. There's this whole world out there which is just kind of democratic and open. And somebody said, actually, earlier on, what did they say? Yeah, everybody can have an opinion. I thought that was a great insight from one of our bloggers. And the final thing is that... you know, I do some politics at home, a small town politician, a little lowly councillor, and I have my own website and blog, and I put my message out to the community. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I was working through the local newspaper or sticking up notices. I mean, you know, I have had 20,000 unique visitors to my little blog. So that's what we really need to be understanding as cultural producers, that we should be handing the power of our creativity to our audiences and giving them the opportunity to tell us what they think and what we should be doing. So I want to turn this right the way around and hand the power back to the audiences. It was kind of what Kamara was also talking about in relation to the gender issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And thank you all
Yeah.
of you.
Okay.
And now